So this is a good question, which is, in the out-of-body experiences and mystical states, what have you learned and been shown in regards to the eternal laws? What are they and the consequences of breaking them in this lifetime? Would you consciously know whether you have broken one or more of them? If you did not know, like in the case of the old woman you spoke about that was haunting the children in the house that was finally removed, do you know the severity of the penalty for breaking the law? Thank you. I appreciate anything you can share on this. So, what I've learned about eternal laws is that there's, the laws of people and the laws of men, and there's the laws of God. And the eternal laws that are actually imprinted upon our hearts are deeper and greater than just like the Ten Commandments. We know that, for instance, in Catholic theology, we know that it is taught to us that the law of God is imprinted on our hearts. But there is a greater law as well, known as eternal law, which I don't know if it's imprinted on our hearts or not, but it's something that we definitely learn as we travel the out-of-body travel pathway and undergo mystical training. So we definitely learn these things. And the basic core understanding of it is that we think according to how God thinks, not how men think. And the way that we understand this as well is that eternal law is determined by energetic truth. What is energetic truth? Energetic truth is what is the true reality behind any interaction that goes beyond what you may see on the external regarding an action or a reaction of someone. And that eternal truth can have so many variations. And this is why in the out-of-body travel states, when we are called into alteration, for instance, we will be informed of the energetic truth. So we will know, for instance, like if something is done with ill intent, or if it was done out of ignorance, or if it was done just out of bad calculation, or things like this. And we will be given information as to what can be done or what we are to do to hopefully improve the outcome. And of course, all of those things can be very different. You can have what appear to be the identical circumstances on the exterior, but internally, what's really going on based on intention, action, reaction, all these types of things can change the eternal truth. And that's where, eternal laws come into play. So let me go back to her questions, these questions here, which are great. So what are they and the consequences of breaking them in this lifetime? So what are they is a very wide question. I think what I would suggest is, reading Medicine Woman Within a Dream, which is book 3 of the Mysteries of the Redemption for starters. And that will start you learning about what energetic truth is and eternal law, some of the basics, and then continue reading through the series there, and you're going to learn a lot more about that. But first of all, there is no, like concretized set of laws in that manner, because eternal laws is based on certain things that are just unacceptable. For instance, one thing that I was told was that the moment you place another person's life in jeopardy, you immediately rescind the right to your own. That's an eternal law. And so that differs from the laws of man. in the sense that we are held accountable for actions that, of a variety of intentions and a variety of levels of carelessness, So, but these are all informed by the underlying knowledge of what God deems to be the eternal truth. We don't deem that. That's what God decides, and it is informed to us energetically, vibrationally, when we are in the out-of-body travel state, when we are instructed and mystically taught to go into situations and to assist in altering reality. So again, try reading Medicine Woman Within a Dream will tell you quite a bit about eternal truth and eternal laws. Let's go back to these questions and the consequences of breaking them in this lifetime. So, the consequences are usually, so like for instance, the moment you place another person's life in danger, you immediately rescind the right to your own, is much more of an explanation that that if you do something, especially with a bad intention, if it's out of carelessness, it might have a little bit different of an eternal truth attached to it, but that would be something that our Lord would determine, not us. But then that you would be also placing your own life at risk there. You're not you don't get a free pass. You don't get a free pass. So these are things that I think are more clarified in Medicine Woman Within a Dream. I think that it's very likely that there are a lot of people who are not consciously aware whether they have broken one or more of them. A lot of the eternal laws, I think, in terms of if you want to do some examination, I think you go to you go through a regular examination of conscience, and that's where you begin, and you try to be honest with yourself about things, and have those conversations with God, asking God to show you what you need to see, and that will help. But I do think a lot of us are unaware of things that we may have done. If you did not know, like in the case of the old woman you spoke about who was haunting the children in the house that was finally removed, do you know the severity of the penalty? There are different severities in terms of those penalties. This is a case where this is a woman who was aware that what she was doing was a violation of eternal law, and she still refused to submit. So her penalty was that she was removed, and then as to what happened after that, I'm not sure, to be totally honest with you. Now, for instance, in a second case, I was taken to see a soul who had chosen to be profoundly evil, and this was profound evil, as in satanic worship during life, and really serious, not kidding kind of stuff. And in death, this person had actually attempted to attack me while I was trying to help his soul. And I was taken to see him placed before a council of 12, and he was sentenced to the second death. And Jesus had taken me to see that, and he looked at me because I was having a hard time with that judgment. And he said to me, "It is not for you to understand, it is just for you to know." And he repeated that. And so, as to what that second death is for that man, I don't know for sure. There's a lot of theological opinions on what the second death is in the Bible. And so some think it means to go to hell, a hell realm. And there are other opinions too. I've heard other opinions of different types of theologies where they believe the second death has to do with like the extinction of a soul. I've never actually seen anything like that, but again, it wasn't for me to understand. It was just for me to know it was the second death. I don't know what it was that happened to him, and I was very disturbed by it. But I was being taught at the time about good and evil, about the purgatories and the hell realms. And so I was starting to learn that, we have a just universe. So there's a lot of things there that go on. So there is a lot to learn about that. And the thing to remember is we learn it as we go through mystical training. That's where you're going to learn the most about what eternal laws mean, what eternal truth is, and how you are informed on all those counts. Another example is a case where I had made a very severe lapse in judgment, and it's written about in one of my books, can't remember which one. And I was told that if I were to repeat that mistake, I would be, quote, beheaded. And what that meant, it meant that I would lose my reason, I would lose my ability to think clearly. So being beheaded would mean that I would lose a lot of the gifts that have been given to me. And so I was taken through quite a bit of instruction, and I was, literally my butt was kicked very profoundly as was necessary, and it was made clear to me how serious the error was on my part. And then I was told what the consequence would be if I were to make the same mistake again, and that would be to lose my judgment, lose my gifts, and so a lot of times that's what it is. We lose our gifts. We lose some of the things that have been given to us to do good with if we have used them for the wrong purpose. So there's a lot to be said about the subject, but I hope this helps a little bit.